Hey guys, welcome to the detailing show.
Listen, Tranquility base here. The Eagle has landed.
Yes, sir. Reading you loud and clear. Clear. The clock has started.
The clock has started.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
So welcome to the detailing show. If this is your first time with us, be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date. We are 7:30 every Sunday right here on Tranquility Based Detailing. Coming up today in this episode of the detailing show, we have an Immaculate Reflection full brand overview, really. Immaculate Reflection have sent me 4 waxes of theirs to have a try and gauge my thoughts. So we're going to have a wax shootout of their waxes. We're going to take a look at their liquid products. We're going to do that first. And then right in the middle of the show, I'm going to show you how to dress your tyres and also have a look at what I think are the 4 types of tyre dressing finishes and which one you should choose for your particular purpose. Stay tuned. Comments, questions, as always, ask them below. We'll start with Immaculate Reflection with their liquid products. So check this out.
Hey guys, Luke here. So Immaculate Reflection, I've had them on the channel before. I reviewed the Parma Violet wax, some of you may remember, maybe 2, maybe even 3 months ago. They've grown the range since then, they've grown the brand, and I'm really enjoying what they're doing with it. They really have a brand identity, they have a theme, it spreads the whole range, and like I always say with you guys, you know, unique selling point is key, and it doesn't have to be that your product is the greatest, the bestest. It can be, you know, like this. It's a fun range. You know, it has this theme of it being a tuck shop, pick and mix, that type of thing. Everything kind of ties together, everything plays together, and it's a real nice touch. And in terms of what they're producing, the team that do this at Immaculate Reflection, Mark and Zara has a heavy influence on the design, you know, these brochures, the labeling, the look, and I have to say she's absolutely bob on what she's doing. And, you know, even to sort of this point, you've got a very sort of innocent type of theme with this tuck shop, you know, almost that school sweet shop type of thing. And then they pair it in, you know, with the brochure. It's very colourful, very in your face, with then this other brochure, which is the Joy of Wax. And not all of you will get that reference. If you're a little bit younger or innocent, you won't. You know, it's a nice contrast to what they're doing. They've put sort of that how to wax and all those details in with a very adult theme. And it shows, you know, a real sort of playful attitude to what they're doing. You know, it's not the most clinical, we're taking this overly seriously thing. It is just, you know, we're producing these. It's a production of love, of passion, and, you know, that ties the whole range together. And I love it. I really do think they've nailed it, both of them. But big props to Zara for what she's doing on the design work. I think it is ace. So yeah, the overarching thing, this tuck shop thing, it means that the brand is available in 2 real kind of guises. So you can buy the full size of everything, and it is incredibly reasonably priced. You know, the full size waxes, for example, 20 quid. You know, they're not breaking the bank. But they do this smaller version, these fun size bottles and these tuck shop size things. And you're looking £2.50 per bottle for the liquid ones. And even they have an offer where it's 5 bottles for a tenner. So, you know, £10, you can get a good feel for what they do, find the winners, and then if you want to add the full range or, you know, just parts to your procedure from the full size range, then you know you've at least sort of wet your beak with them. And then even the waxes, and I'm going to obviously come back to the waxes right at the end of the program, and I'm going to have a bit of a shootout and see sort of what they can do amongst themselves. But the waxes, even the majority of the waxes for these fun size ones, 6 quid. So you're in a position where, let's say for £16, you can try one of their waxes, 5 of their liquid products, get a good feel for what they do and decide if it's for you or not. The only one that doesn't fit within that quite, and it's only down to the ingredients, is the SiO2 one, which for the smaller size is 12 quid. But, you know, even then, you're not talking silly sort of figures with these, you know, certainly sort of figures where you could try and sample. So without further ado, let's try them, let's sample them. As always, I always start with the prep work for what I'm using on the day. So mixing up my shampoo in a bucket and the Snowfoam. Now, the Snowfoam they sent to me is a development one, but small caveat in what you're going to see. Obviously, the car needs a pre-wash. You need to be using your pre-wash if you're not introduce it into your process. I put through a chemical through my Snowfoam lance a week ago, and it's a chemical that shouldn't go through a Snowfoam lance. Now, I tried to do it to be a smart ass, and the end result is I've kind of blocked my Snowfoam lance and it's producing watery foam. So pre-wash, yes, very important. I used what they sent to me. However, it's not going to be representative of how visually it should look, and the cling time would be diminished with what I did in terms of kind of forcing it to have that watery mixture. But great news, with anything like this, you need to draw a silver lining from these clouds. I now need to make a video where I break down a Snowfoam lance. So yay me, stupidity kind of paid out in the end. But yeah, I'll start with the actual shampoo instead. Now, the shampoo said 20-25 mil to a bucket. Mixed it up at 25 mil because, you know, being in the Midlands, water can be a little bit harder than other parts of the world, but you could dial it back. It was, for me, one of the standout products from all of the liquids that they did. They sent me obviously 5. For me, there were 2 that really sort of stood above the other 3, and the shampoo was one of them. It was very, very sudsy. Now, suds doesn't equal that it's a good shampoo, just pitching that one out there. However, what you're looking for with a shampoo is a good cleaning ability and good lubricity. They would be the 2 things above all else. If it cleans well and it's slick across the panel, it's going to protect your panel whilst you're doing that. Those things are really things that you should be looking for. And this, it did those things massively well, with the added benefit of being really, really sudsy, which just kind of appeals to, I think, a lot of people visually. I think it's almost a reassurance in what you're doing. But I really, really do rate the shampoo. I really did like it. Jelly bean scented to tie in with the tuck shop theme. I thought it smelled very, very sweet in the bottle. It wasn't as distinct when it was mixed up. It was a pleasant, sweet aroma in the air, but you kind of lost it in the dilution. I don't know whether that's something that's easy to tweak, but not the end of the world. Like I say, in terms of performance, the main things that you would want, yeah, the shampoo for me was absolutely brilliant. The Snowfoam, I will revisit that once I've got my lance rebuilt, and I'll put sort of a quick video up on Instagram and Facebook so you can see what it should look like. However, cleaning performance on it was pretty good, but I need you guys to know that I don't think I got the best from it because of the tools that I was using on the day. So I will come back to that. But yeah, this is the shampoo. Like I say, very, very sudsy. A lot of suds to panel transfer, but incredibly slick, incredibly good at cleaning. Dilution ratio was good enough that I can't knock it. Anything that where sort of you're looking, 10, 15, 20, 25 mil in a bucket for me is absolutely fine. So yeah, all in all, brilliant. And like I say, £2.50 just to have a go, see if you agree, see if you want to scoop a bottle up yourself. Once we'd been through those stages then, so that's the wash stage, pre-wash stage, the shampoo rinsed really nicely as well, just to pitch that one out there. I have obviously the 4 waxes, a pre-wax cleanser to try as well. On top of that, the quick detailer. So it caused this problem where I decided with the quick detailer, I'm going to use it as the drying aid, and then I'm going to bring in the pre-wax cleanser before going through all the wax process with them as sort of to try and give everything a fair and even balance. With the quick detailer as a drying aid, it's a foam banana scent. Misted it onto the panel, dried it down. I think it did absolutely brilliantly as a drying aid. I would really need to sort of revisit it as a quick detailer. On the day, we're actually quite a cold day, so I didn't have to tackle any water spots or anything like that. Again, in terms of almost like an inverted version of the shampoo, in the bottle smells, now granted, please take this with a pinch of salt when I say it, granted it's designed to be foam bananas, not real bananas. It smells incredibly synthetic in the bottle, but when you mist it, it smells like foam bananas. And I kind of can't quite explain that in a way that doesn't sound bad. I really, really like it in use. In the bottle, it smells a little bit like I'm unsure. But yeah, once you start misting it, it almost kind of, the same as the shampoo, it dilutes that scent down, but in a good way. In this one, it was strong enough that it was still there in use. But yeah, as a drying aid goes, very, very competent. It did a great job and just left it a nice sort of dry panel. No streaks, no smears, no rebuff, nothing needed in that respect either. After that, really then all I had left was the glass cleaner and the pre-wax cleaner. Now the glass cleaner is an incredibly quick flash off glass cleaner. It actually took me by surprise in that I paired it with a Wowo cloth, misted it onto misted it onto the glass even. It came with the cloth, and as you can see there, immediately sort of grabbed against the dryness of the glass, and I wasn't sort of expecting it to flash off so quickly. Is that a bad thing? No, absolutely not. I always keep in my kit bag a slow working glass cleaner and a fast flashing off glass cleaner. So there are positions for both. However, it's something you would need to be mindful of in a high temperature situation. So if you are cleaning it in a direct light, the fact this flashes off so quickly means simply that you're going to need to use more product or work a smaller area or work incredibly quick. So there are things that you would do in your process to counterbalance what this does. Does it clean the glass? Yeah, incredibly well. It dealt with sort of the glass brilliantly. It's just in terms of the working time, know that it is a quick flash type of glass cleaner and rework accordingly. Finally then, pre-wax cleaner. Now the pre-wax cleaner, it's called Spick and Span. I couldn't really nail the scent on it. For me, it was a little bit nondescript. In a sea of products that have a very definitive scent, this was the one that kind of stood out as just being average. Is probably the I don't mean to be unkind when I say that. It was pleasant, but it didn't smell particularly like anything else. Did it work though? Yes. Did it ever? For me, like I said, the shampoo, I said it was one of two that stood out. This was the other one. Now, this being my mum's car, it doesn't get the love mine gets, and it is overdue a clay session. Did the pre-wax cleanser clean the paint? Yeah, check out this applicator pad in a second. It was filthy. It was black. So the pre-wax cleanser for me did a brilliant job, and it was, like I say, one of the two standout products for me by the end of testing the range. That I really think, yes, for me, those are the two products. If you said recommend me from within the range, they would be the two that would be at the top of the list, the shampoo and the pre-wax cleanser. I really, really did love using them. I did enjoy using them. But yeah, that's everything in terms of the liquid products. Like I say, I'm going to do the waxes at the end of the show, so we'll come back to that. I promise you that panel was washed, by the way. But yeah, I'll come back to the waxes at the end of the show. The links are below for these. I'm loving what they're doing. I'm excited to bring you what the waxes will do, so I'll do that shortly. But for now, back to me in the boudoir. It's not in the boudoir. I've said that for someone's benefit. Back to me in the kitchen. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
So that was Immaculate Reflection's liquid products. We're going to have a look at the waxes at the end of the show, but right now we're going to take a look at tyre dressings, how to use them, different ways to apply them, what I think are the 4 main types of finish available to you as the end user, and tell you which ones will be best, I think, for your situation. Take a look at this. Questions, as always, ask them below.
So, tyre dressings. These for me are 4 completely different types of finish, but these 4 are 4 of my favourite tyre dressings really available. I'm going to go through 4 different application methods in this video and 4 different finish types and kind of give you my reasons as to why they're all important, but where you would use them and sort of in what instance. But a bit of admin first as always. All tyre dressings should be dressed onto a clean tyre. Now, tyres are a bit of a funny thing because you're going to have all this brake dust kicked up past the wheel. I mean, brake dust doesn't stop at the wheel. It will go sort of on everything else. And tyres, rubber, it's naturally sort of a bit more porous. It holds onto dirt and it doesn't always kind of get the full clean that it needs. Now, detailing, everything in the finishing game and detailing is based on prep work. So prep is important, prep is key. Now prep on tyres can take time. So I've demonstrated to you there, kind of spray good quality all-purpose cleaner, in this case Bright Max, and then I've agitated it with Autoglanz's brush, and you saw a lot of brown coming out of the tyre. Now, it's not always done on the first go, so you do sometimes have to reapply cleaner and re-clean, and sometimes even use a more aggressive tool. So I've gone from the Autoglanz brush to this, which is an Autoglim high-def wheel brush. Now, small word of warning, do not use this on your wheels unless you like them. You sometimes really need to scrub on 2-3 goes, sometimes more, all of the dirt out of that tyre wall. but trust me, it is worth it for two reasons. You're going to get the best finish from your tyre dressing, and you're going to get the best durability as well. So it's kind of key to do these things first. If you do, you're going to reap rewards. You're going to kind of reap the dividends of that bit of graft. And you can see this is sort of the third hit that I'll show you. The foam being agitated from the all-purpose cleaner is getting cleaner and cleaner. It's getting whiter with each hit. So you can see the dirt is coming out of the tyre. So you can see it is a job that is worth doing and completing, sometimes multiple times. Once that is all done, you should really ideally let the tyre dry or dry it, and then come to your application. So application method number one, this is with Nero, which is from Autoglanz. It's a spray dressing. Do not spray tyre dressings onto your car. It will travel down the car as you spray it, and you're going to get this stuff all up your paint, on your glass, and the stuff streaks, it smears, it's a pain in the backside. So application method for me on number one, it's one of my favourite ones, is to just apply it to a cheap microfiber. The sort of thing that you don't mind chucking away after it's had a few goes at doing this. It stops that travel down the car, and you can kind of really work it into the tyre wall. The other upshot of doing this, and it's why it's one of my favourite methods, is it's very difficult to over apply when you've got any excess that the tyre is not able to absorb. The microfiber will kind of hold on to that. So it has that dual purpose of reducing sling. For those that can be a little bit heavy handed with the dressing, it's a good way to do it. Number two for me is a brush application. I know a lot of guys do this. It's not always been my favourite, and I'll do it here with Carpro PERL. You can work it again into the tyre wall really, really nicely. It gives you a lot of control over it. It stops you kind of getting it onto the wheel or anything like that. For me, just never really been a fan, but it may work for you, so I've included it in the video just the same. If you use this method, great, good for you. It does work. It is a method that is available to you. Third method I used was with a proper tyre dressing applicator. I did that with ODK's Attire. Now, there are pros and cons for those as well. For me, tyre dressing applicators are brilliant with when you have a big sidewall on your tyre. Anything that's a little bit lower profile like this, what will happen is one side of that curve catches onto your wheel if you're not careful, and pretty much you just smear some dressing onto there. Now, why is that a bad thing, you ask? Well, basically, it'll hold on to dirt. So don't do that. Always try and, basically do this. Apply the dressing to the top, or, well, I say top, just one half of the applicator and work it in from there. The final method is just to use an applicator pad, which works, perfectly fine as well. Again, you tend to dispose of them after a few goes of doing this. Now, why do we have these different methods of, well, I say different methods, different finishes of tyre dressing? For me, I've got 4 on display here. So the Obsession Wax Nero is a gloss tyre dressing. All of the finished shots you're going to see here is after 2 coats, and I swear by that as well, 2 coats of tyre dressing. The Obsession Wax is a gloss dressing. The Carpro PERL for me is a matte dressing. The ODK Attire is a dark, rich coloured dressing, and the Infinity Wax Rubber Wax is a natural dressing. Now, why do you have all 4? Now, part of that is preference. Some will like gloss, some like matte, some like natural, some like, that darker, richer dressing. There is a detail which I don't see discussed all too often, but it's one that I really do believe in. And that is pairing a tyre dressing to 2 scenarios. So one is the colour of the car. I tend to find that gloss against dark works well. Matte against light cars works well. That is a preference thing. The thing that I don't see really mentioned at all is pairing your dressing with the plastics on the car. Now, for me, on silver and on my car, my biggest preferential one is the Carpro PERL. And the reason for that is this: that when it's dressed ties in with the plastic bump strips around the bumper and down the side of the car. That's what I don't see addressed all too often. Now, why is that important? It ties the finish together. You may find out that you use a different dressing on the bumper strips than on the rubber, because they'll take dressings differently, and then you'll end up with a cohesive finish across those 2 platforms, and it is a nice finishing touch. Now, when you look at different cars that have, some have a lot of plastic. So I'm going to use a Mini, for example. You've got those big old bits of plastic over the arch liner. You don't get a high gloss finish on those, typically speaking, without putting a lot of dressing in. But why would you do that high gloss finish on those and then not tie it down to the tyre? People don't typically consider that, and I think that's wrong. If you do start to tie these two details up either way, and then tie up one that suits the paint finish better, I guarantee you'll get a better overall end result. You get a better overall finish. And then you just tailor with your preference. So that's where your own ideas come into play and your own preferences come into play as well. But overall, I would say don't just say this is the best tyre dressing. For me, I think the change that needs to be made is people should say this is the best type of tyre dressing against this situation. Start looking at it that way. And start getting it right that way, and I think you'll see a nice improvement in the finished look of your detailing.
So that was tyre dressings. Did I miss anything? I don't think I did, but if I did, comment below and set me straight. The links for everything, as they always are in the comment section, not even the comment section, the description down below. So if you like the look of any of what you see today, go scoop some up, blame it on me, as I always say. We're going to take a look now at Immaculate Reflection. We're going to have a look at their 4 waxes, have a little bit of a shootout. So why don't you see me at the other end of this one? I hope you enjoy it.
And on to the final part of the show. You guys know I love to close the show out with a bit of waxing, and we're spoiled on this one. We've got 4 different waxes, really, inherently, to try out, and a few different key areas to try them out in. So let me line them all up, and the small details for each, and you guys can really derive what works for you. So first things first, cost. The SiO2 one in this sample size pot is £12, I believe. The other 3, I believe, are £6 a pot. Might be wrong with the Montan. Need to check that, actually. So depending on budget, there we are. You might immediately sort of have a winner. Who knows? The second thing they can compete on is the scent. Now, this one is always going to be an awkward one. You've got, for me, with the SiO2, it's an atomic fireball, which is a hot cinnamon, that spicy cinnamon type of smell. They have the Montan one in a marzipan. The ultimate wax is in a lollipop flavour, and then the showstopper is in a caramel. Again, preferential on this one. For me, I think marzipan smells delightful, so for me, that was the winner. Now, a few key areas that these things can compete. So I started with the boot lid here just to give one consistent flat surface, and I thought I'd test the beading. So beading wise, for me, I would say I'm going to start 4th and go upwards. For me, the Montan was the weakest beading of the 4. It gave nice beads. They were a little bit flat, not entirely uniform in places. For me, the Montan was sort of the bottom. Followed up from there with the show wax. I'm going to place that one in 3rd position. And then this may be a little controversial. The SiO2 and the Ultimate were both, for me, the standout 2 beaders from the 4. And I'm going to give it to the Ultimate wax. I thought that the beading was great on the SiO2. As you would expect with them, I thought it was just a little bit more regulated, uniform on the Ultimate wax. So far on that one, I'm going to give the win there to the Ultimate wax. What are your guys' thoughts? I mean, comment below on this one. This is the 4, the sections in the middle. If you're seeing sort of sections of like flat there type of beads, that's where I've not waxed. So none of them gave bad beading. But as I sort of did the 4 sections, tried to make sure there was no overlap of the sections, so I left small sections unwaxed. So that is down to those. None of them performed badly, but in a ranked order, I'm going to say that. So number 1 is the Ultimate, 2 is the SiO2, 3 is the show wax, and 4 as the Montan. So next part, use, application. Now, with sample pots, you're always a little bit fiddly to get a good load on the applicator. And in turn, that doesn't make the nicest application in comparison to a full-size pot. However, they're all sample sizes, so they're all on a dead hitter on that one. For me, the SiO2, it was a little bit tacky. It was a little bit sticky on application. That is in comparison to the other three, so it's not a bad wax to apply. I'm just comparing it to the Immaculate Reflection range. But for me, on application and on removal, I'm actually going to put the SiO2 at the bottom of the list. It did require a little bit of work. It did require a little bit more effort than the others. And equally a little bit longer on the curing than the others as well. The others say 5 to 10, that one says 10 to 15. So if time is on your side, pace yourself. If it's not, then the other three, again, are going to sort of stand a little bit ahead of it. The Ultimate Wax was easier to apply than the SiO2. It had a little bit more of a slickness to it on application. It was a little bit easier to apply. The Montan Wax, I'm going to say, was ahead of the SiO2, but behind the Ultimate and behind the Show Wax. Slight bit of grab, little bit of drag on the applicator. Nothing major. Like I say, it doesn't make it a bad wax. But I'm going to place that one there. For me, the one that was to beat on application was the Show Wax. Now, the Show Wax was very oily, certainly in comparison to the others. And in terms of how that relayed to use, it made it, for me, a significant margin, the easiest of them to use, to lay down a nice thin layer, to spread it far. In terms of then how that all translated into removal, it was pretty much like for like. So the Show Wax was easiest to remove, and then the Ultimate, down then to the Montan, and then the SiO2 in last place there. Once then that was all said and done, and we've already looked at the beading, what type of finishes are available to you? Now, the SiO2 for me had quite a crisp glassiness to the finish. It didn't have a lot of colour, a lot of depth in the reflection, but it had a lot of that sort of synthetic type of finish to the finish. That's too many finishes in one sentence. It had that type of finish to it. For me, it suits really, really well against a lighter paint. So that's what you really have with the SiO2. With the Montan tends to have more of a wetness to the gloss, and it delivered that. It was the wettest of the four in terms of the gloss it gave. The Show Wax, it was a warmer depth to the wax. So what you'd expect normally from a Carnauba, it delivered that really, really well. And then the Ultimate Wax, for me, was my favoured finish of all of them. But being a bit of an amalgamation of all of them, that's not really surprising. You know, they've kind of taken elements of all of them, put them together in one go. But in summary, all in all, what can I tell you? All of them are really nice to use. There's not a tough one in the batch. You know, I'm comparing these against each other. They all produce a slightly different finish, as you'd imagine, given the ingredients that go into them. The variables that obviously you guys can split hairs with, that's, you know, things like the beading and whatnot, they all bead really, really well. But if you were to push me down an avenue and say which one would I spend my money on, for me, it would be a coin flip, and it would be a coin flip between the Show Wax and the Ultimate. Now, I love a good Montan wax. For me, durability really isn't a massive key factor, but that's purely down to what I do on the channel. You guys know I'm sort of stripping, waxing, reapplying a lot compared to your average bear. So if you're after durability, go for the SiO2. If you're after wetness, go for the Montan. If not, go for one of the other two. But for me, for my money, the ones to pick up, the ones to try first would be the Ultimate and would be the Show Wax. I think they were the ones that I really, really loved, and they sort of appealed mostly to me, the finish, the application, everything I love in a wax. But all in all, lovely range. I'm glad I tried them. Links are below. Back to me in the kitchen.
That's this episode of the detailing show done. I hope I've saved you all from the mundane nature of Sunday night TV, be that Corrie or the other garbage, the singing one. I don't get it. It's not for me. But if you like what you see and you want to subscribe, I'm very, very grateful. If you do want to share this, if there's people that you think might be missing out, share it far and wide. It's the way this will grow. If you guys want to share it, I'm always immensely grateful for that. Check back soon. We've got other videos in the pipeline as always, and as a bare minimum, we'll see you next Sunday at 7:30 sharp. Take care. Bye-bye.